Okay, so welcome to the creation process of the ambers. So before we begin with the process of creating the ambers, or you can say the particle system, we need to hide and disable certain assets of our scene. Well, first, right here in front of me, I do have the fluid container with a resolution of 250, and I guess I need to hide that stuff for a moment because that is affecting the overall performance of the scene. So what we're going to do here is that I can go inside the windows and open the outliner, and here I do have a list of the scenes. These are the same things and the assets that we have already been created in the previous module, that is M3, and here in this module we would like to create the particle system. So first we need to select the fluid container, and let me just gonna hide that stuff. Okay, so with that we are absolutely free to navigate the scene in a much easier and a faster way. And then the next case is that we need to create the ambers. So right here in front of me, we need to select the tree. As we know that this is the tree, the burning section, or you can say the burn section of the tree, is emitting the ambers. So for that we need to select the tree, and we need to go inside the end particles, and here we like to use the legacy ones. So we do have the legacy particles, and let's say emit from the object, so which means that the surface of the tree will going to emit the ambers. So if we're going to go and reset the things, we can see that the emitter type has been set to the Omni by default. So we don't want that thing, we want the surface that we're going to utilize all the sections of the polygon mesh, and the particles should be emitted from the surface of the tree. And without any further changes, let's say we create. Okay, and if we're going to play the timeline, you can see that now the particles have started being getting emitted from the tree, but there is a lot of problem. First of all, this is not making any sense. There are no doubt we do not have any shading, we do not have any, you can say, the influence of the ambers on these particle systems. We do have just some raw physics applied with the very basic settings. Alright, so it's time to improvise the thing. Well, first of all, what I can do here is that let me just open up the outliner and see what we have got. So under the tree mesh we do have the two emitters. Well, the first one is the fluid emitter and the second one is the particle emitter. Alright, so what I can do here is that, let's say instead of the particle, just double click it and name it as the ambers. That's pretty much okay. And if I'm going to select the emitter, I can control A, opening the attribute editor for the emitter nodes. We have the emitter over here, the amber shape, which is basically the particle shape node, okay, and the geometry connector, which is the tree. Okay, so here I do have the rate. So let's do one thing, we're gonna move that thing to 15,000. Okay, so what I should be experiencing is that a lot of particles, but this is totally being now getting converted into a mess. Yes, because we remember one thing, that the particles, or you can say the embers, are eligible to be get emitted only from the certain section of the tree which is now being getting burnt away. Or you may could say that those sections of the tree which is emitting the fire, from those sections only the particles or the embers should get emitted. Alright, so for that we need to apply one thing, the black mask, the same mask that we just used in the creation process of the fluids, which sampled out certain sections of the tree and emitted the fluids only from those sections. So just to make you refresh, I need to open up the Hypershade, and there's something called, we need to go inside the textures, we need to have called the black mask. I need to open that up. Okay, so here what I can do, just need to just minimize that stuff. Okay, and I also need to open up with my outliner. So if I'm gonna select the ambers, control A, amber shape, if we're gonna go inside the emitter node, a very important section that is called as the texture rate. So what we're gonna do, basically this particular attribute is responsible for the emission of the particles, but only from those sections that do have the texture value 1. So that means if we're gonna click the black mask and let you see what do we have in the black mask, we do have the white sections that has been already applied in the model 1 for the emission of the fluids. The same map we are now applying for the emission of the particles. Alright, so we need to go back to the outliner and need to select the emitter. So in the texture rate we need to drop the black mask. So once it has been dropped, we need to also switch on the enable texture rate. Once it is enabled, now you can see that if I'm gonna play the timeline, now the good thing is that the particles are now being getting emitted only from the particular section of the tree, which is disabling the other section of the tree which is not getting burned. Okay, so this is something which is very important. Alright, so the next thing would be to take care of the motion and the physics of the particles. As you can see, what we could do maximum from the emitter node is that we could just start playing with the sections of the speed. For example, I do have the speed set to the 5 and random speed set to the 3, and now if you're gonna play the timeline, you can see that the particles are now being too much aggressive and they are moving in a very fast speed. But the only problem is that they are not going to be contributing anything towards the look and feel of the ambers. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a rest over here, we're going to stop everything, we're going to go to the next video, and then we're going to talk about how to improvise the physics of the particles. Alright, so now it's time to move to the next clip.